For the first question, to what extent do the participants in the discussion seem to be seeking a better understanding of the issue, and to what extent do they seem to be trying to defend their own position on the issue? For me, the participants are in the discussion about the topic of guns. I feel like they're really they don't have an open mind to this discussion. They're really closed minded, you know, and more for me, Joe. He really didn't have an open mind to what his TV members were saying. You know, like for example, Mika, she was really calm and she would be trying to voice her opinion about the topic of guns and how she feels like, how she stated that we could do something now about it instead of waiting something to happen or later. And Joe would be really direct and demanding and cut her off and be like, oh, well, there's nothing we can do and we have a right. It's an amendment, to have guns. And for example, what he said, President Barack Obama really didn't do anything about it, or he doesn't do anything about it. He like just waits for it to happen. Like he doesn't try or anything. Like I felt Joe was too like he was too closed minded. He wasn't open to what his other members team members were saying. And to me it was like, how can you not listen and let them talk? He was just indirect and he was like an angry person. Like he didn't, he didn't was he wasn't open minded, and I felt like it shouldn't be that way. You should be able to hear someone's opinion and then let them hear yours and not be so aggressive towards making your point of view. For example, Joe was I feel like so confident in what he was saying. He stated that and he read the New York Times, so he was saying smart people like me, saying he knew everything about the topic, and just because you think you know everything doesn't mean you actually do. And I feel like that's where people really always mistake, because they believe they're really confident in a topic doesn't mean you're right about it. Doesn't mean that you really know more than anybody else around you, you know. And I feel like he could have been more, open, not open, but he could have heard more, because I felt like it wasn't really them talking about guns. It was just them fighting to see which one, could voice their opinion more. Because I felt really bad for Mika. She really couldn't voice her opinion because Joe was so, on top of him. And Nicholas and Mike really didn't talk. They voiced their opinions about guns, and both of them agreed that, there really wasn't anything you could do right now. It was just like, oh, you know, sorry, I'm really nervous. They said that there really wouldn't be anything you could do now because it is a right that we have to own guns, and there's no limit of how many guns we can have. That's what they both, Mike and Nicholas, agreed on. But also, I feel like they did both. All four of them did voice their opinions, or tried to voice their opinions in that matter. But I feel like they really didn't understand each other. They say oh yeah, I get what you're saying. They would agree and they'd be like, oh yeah, I understand what you're saying. But I feel like they really didn't understand, and they're thinking that more, and be like, oh yeah, she has a point. I felt like it really didn't get there. But moving on to the second question about, does their goal seem to be defeat the argument of those without whom they disagree, or to achieve a greater understanding to the issue and argument, like I kind of covered in the first question. I feel like they really didn't get anywhere. They really didn't agree. Like I said, Joe really, he stated that he's like, oh, I watch Fox News. And I read the New York Times. I feel like he was so confident in what he was saying, and he was yes, like I'm gonna say, and it makes sense, and everybody's gonna be, on my train and agree with me, like I felt like he was just so. It was just like he had no filter. Like he had a filter, but I mean, like and like his thinking wise, he was just saying whatever he was thinking. He didn't care, if you didn't agree or you didn't. Like he was like, I'm right. I don't care what you say because I make totally sense and everybody's gonna agree with me. I feel like he had that mindset, and I feel to have a discussion, especially on a sensitive topic like that, you have to be kind of on the same page and listen to each other and be like, okay, here's someone, if you don't really like it, could talk and be like, hey, well, this is what I believe and what you say, like kind of talk it out, not just be so like you're like Sparta and a Trojan War and just like run towards and just like be like there's something, like just like towards your discussion, just be like, no, this is you have to really talk about it and calmly matter because it is a very sensitive topic to talk about, especially today, how guns is really there's always something about towards guns and everything. So I feel like they could have done a better job and talk about it because they're on news, they're on TV, national TV, where anybody could see it. And of course, everybody voices their opinion if they don't like something they see. So I feel like they could have done a better job and talk about it, and understand each other better than they did. Honestly, that's what I believe they should have done. Yeah, but that's my opinion. Okay.